Hi, everybody. It's Carla Archer here, helping you work on your wellness. How's everybody doing today? Thanks for joining us live, and thanks for catching the recording. I have a very special guest with me today. I have 𝗪 Coombs with me. She's a personal trainer, a posture specialist, speaker, author, and I have to say, an all-around awesome person. I've been getting to know 𝗪 for the last couple of months, and I've thoroughly enjoyed getting to know her. Hi, 𝗪.
Hi, likewise. It's so nice to be here. Thanks, Carla.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. And you're coming to us live today from
Chautauqua, New York.
Nice. Yeah. And you said it's a little bit cool there today?
It's nice. Yeah, it was 48 degrees Fahrenheit this morning, and it's about 70 now. But since I live in Kentucky, this seems very chilly for me.
Yeah, I can imagine. Well, 𝗪 is a personal trainer, a posture coach, public speaker, author, as I mentioned, and she offers private coaching, group seminars, lectures, and corporate wellness programs based on the science of good health. And her work is based on a 25-year career in exercise, nutrition, and sports medicine, with experience in corporate fitness, news blogs, ergonomics, physical therapy facilities, athletic sideline, community college classrooms, and one-on-one training. So 𝗪 is bringing us a lot of great information from 25 years of her career today.
Yeah.
Her coaching approach focuses on the basics of good food, good movement, and helping her clients to overcome their individual barriers to success. She has a psychology degree from State University in New York at Stony Brook and a master's degree in exercise physiology from Queens College, as well as certifications from the National Athletics Trainers Association, National Strength and Conditioning Association, National Academy of Sports Medicine, and the 𝗂𝘂 Institute. I said that right, correct, 𝗪?
That's a mouthful. Yes, you said that right.
Well, I'm so excited to have you here to talk to our audience and share what I've come to know as an amazing, funny, super intelligent, understands the body, the form, the function. She's a kindred soul to me because as a former fitness instructor, I was all about form and function to prevent injury. And I'm going to let 𝗪 take it away and tell us a little bit about herself, her journey, and what we're going to do today.
Very cool. Well, Carla, that introduction makes me sound a lot more impressive than I really am. When it comes down to it, I'm just a small town girl from upstate New York who at a very young age fell in love with the story of Heidi, who, as you all remember, moved to the Swiss Alps to live with her grandfather and had befriended a little girl from Frankfurt, Germany, who was crippled. She was in a wheelchair. And oh, you need to be still. You need to sit down. You need to stay in your chair, Clara. You're crippled. And Heidi just wasn't believing it. She wasn't buying it. So she invited Clara to the Alps with her one summer. And lo and behold, after spending the summer in the Alps with Heidi, she was frolicking in the fresh air and eating fresh bread and playing with the goats and moving and, having social interaction. By the end of the summer, Clara was able to get out of the wheelchair and walk on her own two legs. And every time I tell that story, I am choked up all over again because as an 8-year-old girl and as a 50-year-old woman, I just find that to be so magical. And it speaks such volumes to the magic of the human body and its wondrous design and all the places it can take us if we take charge of it and do what it's required, do what's required of it. So as you mentioned, my practice, I've worked in a lot of different places, but my practice has always been very true to that. Just get back to the basics, get back to common sense. And even though that seems very simple, that's the hardest thing in the world to do because I think we are so tempted by all the flash in our industry and all the promises and all the gimmicks and all the testimonials and all the fear of missing out on the next best thing. And the very last thing we ever want to do is what's simple and what's hard. And so getting back to the basics is where the foundation of my practice really is.
Yes, absolutely. And like you said, within our industry, we face so many people who are looking for a quick fix, a pill, just give me something so I don't have to do the work, so to speak. I can carry on doing what I'm doing, but I don't have to feel this way, rather than taking a look at the root cause.
Exactly. And my sweet spot is for the people with injuries. So that's what led me to be an athletic trainer. I loved being in the athletic environment and helping those athletes do what mattered most, which was get back in the game, right? That's where they were either getting their scholarship money from, or getting personal pleasure from, or whatever the case may be. They had such a high level of motivation to get back in the game. And so I loved being a part of the team in that way. But now my focus has shifted to the adult athlete, the 50 and over crowd, the 70 and over crowd. My favorite clients are the ones that are 80 and over, because they want to get back in the game. And it gives me such joy to bridge the gap between their frustration with being injured, or their fatigue around these chronic ailments, or their disappointment that their life didn't really turn out the way they wanted it to be. I love to be that bridger or that gap filler. It's to get them back in the game. It's the same exact goal, but a different age group now.
Yeah, absolutely. And similarly, I work with a lot of people in that same situation, and nothing feels better than and I love that description, bridge that gap for them, offer them something that can help them get to the way they used to be, or get back to as close to what they used to be as possible.
Exactly. Because I think we all have such a clear picture in our mind of who we are and how we want to age. And when what we're actually doing doesn't mirror that, that can be very disheartening. And I love to see the aha moment when they get it, or when they do that again, or when they're able to start enjoying those things again, just through the basics. Again, it's not anything that we haven't known for thousands and thousands of years. I'm just kind of bringing back what was old, what was old is new again.
Yeah, absolutely. And I had a conversation with another lady the other day, and we used the phrase alternative healing. And then we went, what, really, it's not alternative. It's what we used to practice. Traditional medicine came in, and now it appears to be alternative, but really it's not. It's what we've always known that we can.
Well, that's what the body is starving for. The body, I think, is just starving for the simplicity of what our ancestors did. It's still the same 37 trillion cells. Nothing has changed. What has changed is our environment. And in a lot of ways, that environment is a good change, so we have access to better medicines and access to better medical interventions. But those 37 trillion cells don't always respond to that new stuff. It's just begging, and it's so starved for the old stuff, I like to think.
Well, what I like too about this is that, it puts some onus on the individual, and it is something that a person can manage on their own at times. Definitely the system is there when you require it, but this is some place to start and see, can I manage this on my own? Can I get to my next level, or get back to what I used to be? Using medication or operations or whatever the case.
Yes, exactly. Well, I loved your post today. I think it was today about listening. Right. And I just think that listening, we're so good sometimes at listening to other people, and we're starting to understand more that that's a life skill that is super, super lost in today's society, and so valuable. But listening to your own body too is something that I try to get my clients tapped into. Just your body's going to tell you exactly what it needs, and it's going to tell you exactly what's wrong with it. So we don't always want to listen to that. We want to mask it. We want to mask it with this, that, or the other little Band-Aid, if you will, instead of really listening. So that's one of the other things I try to get my clients back to, is just the fundamental communication with your own body, not just giving it information, but listening back for information.
Absolutely. And I got this from your website about, enhancing your wellness and enriching your life, and that you're on a quest for good health should be fun, science-based, and sustainable. And I really truly believe, just from participating in your posture camps and having conversations with you and following you, that this is what your true philosophy is. You really believe and you practice this.
Yeah, since I was 8 years old.
That's awesome.
Time.
Well, I'm so grateful that we found each other. I mentioned your posture camp, and I'm so delighted that you invited me to join. Again, as a fitness instructor, I like to look at form and function. I'm always thinking about how the body mechanics work. I work with neurological technology, so they're closely related as far as posture goes. So let's talk about posture and why it's so important. Give us a little about how you got into posture, kind of the training you have, and let's go from there.
Yeah, so the posture has always been part of my repertoire. I just didn't know it was. Posture is just a fancy way of saying form, function, mechanics. Okay, so the body definitely is supposed to be in good alignment. And we think of people with gorgeous posture and their shoulders are back and their head is up. And that's one element of it, right? So standing up straight is certainly part of good posture, but really moving properly. Each joint in your body has a very specific design and a very specific purpose and a very specific set of mechanics. And when we deviate from that because we've been injured or because we have bad habits or because we always sleep on one side or because we play a sport that's just on one side, the alignment is off and the function is off and the mechanics are off. So then your body, being the tricky machine that it is, will find another way to get the job done, but it's going to be riddled with compensations and overuse patterns. So I really believe that in all the years that I've been working with athletes and adult athletes, if we can get your posture right, everything else is going to be right. And if we don't get your posture right, nothing else is going to be right. So for example, I have a lot of clients who see me for, let's say, knee pain. I just wrote a book about it. Their knee is never the problem. It's their hip that's the problem, or their shoulder's the problem, or their foot is the problem. And when they go to traditional fixers, even though those fixers have a very good understanding of the anatomy of the knee and the treatments for the knee, etc., the knee is not the problem. It was because their hip was not doing enough work, so the knee got overloaded, or the foot was not doing enough work, so the knee got overloaded. So I got to this posture therapy stuff quite by accident. It was kind of suggested to me by a friend of a friend of a friend who said 3 years ago, hey, you should check out this 𝗵𝗂𝗂. He's a posture therapist. Now, Carla, at that point, I'd been in this field for 25-ish years, and I thought, I already know everything there is to know. I don't need one more thing. I can't concentrate on any more, modalities. But I thought, you know what, let me just oblige this person and take a look. It was exactly what I had needed my whole career, because it simplifies all the different types of therapy I was trying to provide into one approach. And that approach, that goal is get your posture right. So using the posture therapy has not only been great for me because it streamlines my process, it's been great for my clients, you included, because it just makes sense. And you feel better instantly because it's getting to the muscles that we never work in the gym. Even in some therapeutic protocols, we are still not really addressing those little muscles that hug the skeleton into place or fine-tune our movements. We are so focused on the big, juicy movements that we see in I'm very guilty of it, and you probably are too in our career. The big juicy muscles. Let's tone the biceps. Let's get those nice legs for bathing season. Your posture don't care about those sexy muscles. It wants you to work on the micro muscles. So that's where my therapy is a little different.
What I love too that you're teaching about that as well is it's a full body approach, because like you said, whether it's overuse of repetitive activity, but I love how you speak about our front body and our back body. That's right.
Yeah.
And so much of us is forward on our computers, on our phones. When we sit, we're cutting vegetables, we're doing dishes, and the back is having to hold that up. So I like that this addresses everything.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and we talked earlier about some of my job experience. One of the most interesting experiences that I had in the workplace was when I worked at the Toyota manufacturing plant in Kentucky and watched those assembly line workers making Toyotas from a roll of sheet metal to a finished Camry, and watching all the positions that they would put their bodies in throughout the day, reaching into the engine compartment or putting the trim on the windows or moving big hoods over with cranes and stuff like that. One of the big approaches that we used there was always just countermeasure. So if your body is doing this during the day for your therapy, I want you to be doing this. And that's simplifying, obviously, but really looking at the body from a from a yin and yang. So if you're doing too much of this, let's add a lot of this. Even with people that use their hands now for their computers, they say, how can I strengthen my grip? I'm like, I don't want you to strengthen your grip. You're already here. I want you to do the exact opposite and remind each of those joints what their full function is and what their full range of motion is.
Well, and like you said too, we get so fixated and focused on the biceps and the legs. A lot of times we will forgo the back muscle workout or like the Superman or whatever you can do to work on the back side of yourself, which is equally as important as the front.
Exactly. And P.S., if your back muscles, if those micro muscles that pull you into beautiful posture are super strong and active, your bicep workout is going to be so much better because you're not going to keep injuring your shoulder when you do too many bicep curls, or you're not going to get elbow tendonitis from too many bicep curls because everything's going to be in alignment. So when you do whatever other activity it is, it's just going your benefits are going to be that much better because your posture and your mechanics and your function is right. Yeah.
It's kind of like if you had a basket and you fill it up with rocks on one side, it's going to dip this way. So you need to split it out so it's even and it's balanced.
Well, and to take that even farther, if we had a basket and put rocks on this side, I want you to put rice on this side. I want you to put little granules of rice on this side until that basket balances. That's a tongue twister. Instead of always doing the big stuff, the big obvious stuff, I want you to do the little teeny micro quinoa stuff over here.
Well, and that's the thing too, we a lot of times don't realize how many tiny muscles that we have working for us. And so many times you'll hear a person will say, well, geez, I did something out of my norm. Like I'm maybe a runner, but I decided to ride my bike. Well, I use a whole different set of muscles for that I didn't realize that I'm not working.
Exactly. Great example there is I always have people say, oh, my ankles are always hurting, or I feel like my ankles are really unstable. I want to do more calf raises. I'm like, calf raises are great, but your calf is only 2 muscles. Your foot has 100 muscles. So what if we worked on those 100 little foot muscles and made your foot into more of a claw and less of a rudder? So yeah, exchange the big muscles for the tiny little muscles.
For the tiny ones too. Excellent. And I love what you said too, when you're talking about a lot of times knee pain, would you describe, is that described as kinetic pain, sort of where it's showing up in your knee, but in fact it comes from somewhere else? And you're talking outside of like a specific knee injury. You're talking about.
Yeah. I mean, if you got hit by a car and that's why your knee hurts, that obviously wasn't your hip's fault, and all the foot strength in the world wouldn't have prevented that. But a lot of times the knee is worn down, or the knee is arthritic, or the knee has itis of some kind because it was overworked. And if we think about the skeleton and look at in our mind at the picture of a knee, the knee is just a hinge. It's just a femur and a tibia for all intents and purposes. Yes, there's a little fibula over here, but that's not really part of the real equation. So we just have 2 bones there that are just meant to do this. The hip up here above is supposed to be doing this, like all kinds of strength and mobility. A lot of our hips are locked because we're sitting on them all day. So when we go to walk or ride our bike or go for a run or go to CrossFit or Zumba or whatever we're doing, that locked hip is a handicap now, because now your body has to move, your knee now has to do all that, and it's only a hinge. So now we've worn it out. We've got arthritis, we tore our meniscus, we have bursitis, we have knock knees, we have bow legs, whatever the case may be, because we didn't let the knee just be a hinge. We're expecting way too much of it.
Absolutely. That's a really good way to describe it. And I like the visual that you use there too, so that people understand. I know, I was thinking, I'm trying to do Zumba on a regular basis, and because I sit a lot, to get my hips moving so that they're not locking up, and a little bit of fun and some cardio and exercise. So, Laura, we've been talking about posture, and I've been able to experience in your posture camp some recommendations of some exercises that you would offer your clients. So tell me a little bit first, before we get into a few of those, if somebody was interested in participating in some consultation or a posture camp with you, what sort of services do you offer?
Yeah, so thank you for asking. As you know, I'm doing a posture camp, and I'm going to have a start date every single month. So we're going to go 4 weeks in October, 4 weeks weeks in November, 4 weeks in December. You can do it again. You can do it as many times as you want. If you go to the website of 𝗂𝑐𝑒yourkneeshurt.com and just look up in the top at the posture camp tab, there'll be a calendar there and you can register right on the spot. There's also on that website a consultation page. And if anybody watching would like to just chat with me for 30 minutes, you have access on that same website to my calendar, and you can just look at a calendar, book a date, you'll get a confirmation link, and we'll Zoom a 25 or 30-minute consultation. I truly love talking to new people and answering their questions because I get so excited at the simplicity of it all, and I'm on a crusade to just share that my inner Heidi.
Your inner Heidi experience. And I love that about you because we just randomly met on Facebook and we connected, based on some commonalities and had a conversation. And I have to say, you are such an easygoing person. You're easy to talk to, you're enthusiastic, and you're so much fun. And you make doing these exercises a lot of fun. So I can guarantee you, if you do connect with Laura outside of this interview, I think you're really going to enjoy your time with her. She's wonderful.
Thanks.
Yeah. So did you want to show us a few?
Yeah, I do. Well, since we were talking about the hip and the ankle, let's do a couple exercises for that. Okay. Sure. So if you guys want to follow along at home, we're just going to lie right on the floor. You don't have to have any special equipment. What I do want you to do is take off your shoes and socks so we can really mobilize those feet and work those 100 muscles of the feet. I'm going to just scoot back here a little bit, and we're going to start with an exercise called knee drops, and it's an exercise to mobilize the hips, because the more mobile the hip is, the more stable the knee can be. Okay, so this one feels heavenly, and a lot of my clients like to do it first thing in the morning when they get out of bed. So just lie down on the floor. Let me scoot back here a little. Lie down on the floor with your arms out at your side, your knees bent, and your feet will be pretty far apart here, so wider than hip distance. And then just kind of sink in and let your upper body relax. We're going to drop both knees to one side and then both knees to the other. And as you do that, just feel those hips kind of gliding in those sockets, and do whatever feels comfortable with your lower back. Don't put any pressure on the lower back. Don't try to flatten it to the floor or any of the other contortions that we've been told to get into at other classes. So we're just going to kind of ease into this. And you might start to notice that one hip is a little bit looser than the other. And that's totally normal. It is not optimal, but it is totally normal because we just all have bad habits, the way we sleep, the way we sit, which side of the couch are we on, etc. So if you are somebody whose knees do hurt, this is one of the best exercises for you. And I know that's probably not what you've heard before, because everybody's like, oh, I need to strengthen my knee. I really don't think you need to strengthen your knee. Your knee is just a bony joint. I think what you need to do is mobilize those hips. So that one is a great one for knee pain, back pain, early in the morning, pre-Zumba workout. And then the next one is going to be for the ankles. So lie on your back again and pull that leg up. The opposite leg is going to be down, and I'm going to take that foot in a nice big circle. So I always keep my shin nice and still, as though there's a stack of blocks on it. And we're going to take that ankle 20 times clockwise. And that takes a while. And if your shoes are off here, try to start spreading your toes apart. That's a muscle group that we normally are very weak in. So spreading the toes apart, really trying to get big circles just at the ankle, and then we'll go the other way 20 times. And if you're like me, it doesn't take long for that shin muscle to start talking to me, and I think that's a good thing. The stronger the muscles that support our knees are, the less work our knees have to do. Now, if you, for whatever reason, can't get on the floor today, I would try it again tonight. I would try it again tomorrow. I would try it again the next day. I'm going to keep talking, but now I want you guys to do point and flex like a gas pedal 20 times. Make that motion as big as you can from the ankle. No movement at the knee. Remember, the knee is just a hinge. The ankle should be doing all the work here. But getting up and down on the floor, everyone, is such an important life skill at some point you are going to be on the floor and need to get back up again. And I want you to practice that now rather than find yourself in an emergency later. The other thing that does is, and watch me get up off the floor here, the other thing that getting up and down off the floor does is it forces me to find mobility in ways that I wouldn't in a normal exercise class. So as you saw me get down and roll over, look at the great motion that I'm getting at the hips and knees. So it's a really good way to just kind of check in with your body and see what might be getting a little too stiff, what might be getting a little bit too weak. Maybe it's easy to do it to one side and not the other. So those 3 little exercises right there, Carla, the knee drops, the ankle circles, and the get down and get back up again, are such a great way to start the day, such a great way to finish the day, such a great way to maybe warm up for a big workout or a bike ride or after gardening or before gardening, just to kind of get some of those micro muscles activated, get them in the game.
Absolutely. And you know, I think the ankle and the foot is very overlooked for a lot of people. And I say that coming from an injury that I believe stemmed from, you know, tight hamstrings, not enough stretching in the ankles, where it developed into lower back and SI pain. And then I started to really connect and notice the difference when I actually was stretching my foot and my ankles and how much that relieved the tension in those areas.
I love that. And if we think about the anatomy of the foot, it mimics exactly the anatomy of the hand and wrist. And if we think about all the motions that are available to our hand and wrist, anatomically, we should have those at the foot too, but we don't, because we're always locking our foot in a shoe. So our shoe is limiting the function. It would be like wearing boxing gloves around all day and then trying to take the boxing gloves off and floss your teeth. It's going to be really hard because your fingers have lost their strength and their dexterity. So this is like a boxing glove for the foot. So that's a 4th tip. As often as possible, go barefoot to kind of work on those 100 little muscles there. And then I have to say, people are going to say, oh God, my doctor told me to always wear my orthotics. Always do what your doctor said, obviously. But when your doctor's not looking and you dare to take your shoes and socks off and go barefoot just a little bit every day and then just a little bit more, I really believe that eventually your feet are going to be so strong that you don't need the orthotics anymore in many cases.
Yeah. And, you know, coming from a neurological technology product where we're oftentimes wearing socks, I'm so glad that we have a patch as an alternative, because I think it is important to, you know, not wear your socks at times. It connects you to the ground.
Exactly.
It works and strengthens your feet, as you mentioned, the muscles and different things like that. So that's awesome.
Well, and with the help of your technology, it just brings it all together. It just makes so much sense, you know, because I can tell you to circle your ankles, but if you don't have that brain-body connection, and if there's a limitation there neurologically, all the willpower in the world isn't going to get the job done. So I think the posture therapy and the technology that you offer are such a great match.
Well, absolutely. And that's really what wellness is all about. It's all encompassing. It's a bigger picture than just doing one thing or this thing. It's combining a variety of different things to work on your wellness.
Well, and I think for consumers that can be very overwhelming and very confusing, because they're hearing what you're saying, they're hearing what I'm saying, they're hearing their friends talk about this. And that's kind of the blessing and the curse of the human brain. We're curious and we want to try things, and we at the same time kind of second guess our own intuition. But I want people to just embrace all of that, embrace all of the information that's out there, and really test it on themselves. Don't take your friend's word for it. Don't take my word for it. Try it. Try it consistently. Give it a good, honest try for 30 days or whatever. This is starting to sound like an infomercial. Give it a try for 30 days. And if you don't feel better, then it wasn't for you. But what have you wasted? Nothing. You've just wasted 30 days, and that's it. And now move on to something else that you're interested in trying. And that should be kind of the wondrous parts of living in this, doing constant evaluations, and constantly kind of changing your mind about things. For example, in the 90s, I thought that low fat was the way to go, and I would eat low fat cheese and low fat cookies and low fat whipped cream, and that was right for me in the 90s. Well, now that is not right for my body anymore. So we have to just keep evolving and listening to our body as we go through these different protocols or therapies. Yeah,
exactly. And that's what I really enjoy about having a wellness page like I do, and bringing on other people, because like you said, it can be very overwhelming for people. They don't know where to go. And I think it's nice to create an atmosphere and say, you know, this is what I have to offer, and it can work in conjunction with this, or here's another option, and getting to know some of the other options that are out there for people. So exactly. I really appreciate you sharing what you have to offer today.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, genuinely, I would love to talk to every single person who sees this. All you have to do is go to the website, of course, yourkneeshurt.com, and look at the consultation calendar and schedule a time, and we'll chat for 30 minutes and see what your best next steps might be.
Yeah, for sure. Now let's talk about that a little bit. Let's talk about your book, and I'm going to have your links and stuff for people. But your new book, of course, Your Knee Hurts. And I think from what you've sort of explained today, I love the whimsy of the title. The book cover is absolutely phenomenal.
Everybody tunes in tonight for the launch party. You'll hear my mom read the introduction, which tells a little bit about how I came to that title. But basically, in a nutshell, it's a compilation of what I've learned in the last 30 years. And I shrunk that down into a quick 80-page book so it can be read in one sitting. The one thing that I have found in common with all of my success stories is that my clients who see the greatest results are the ones that have taken charge. And so the book is empowering that way, I hope, and explaining to people, these are the 4 areas of your life that I would want you to take charge of immediately. If you're having knee pain, the book is called Knees Hurt, but it could also be translated to, of course, your hips hurt, of course, your neck hurts, of course, your big toe hurts. You have got to take charge of the 4 key areas. And I think those 4 key areas, as you might have guessed, is posture first. First, get right with your posture. They say get right with Jesus, and I say you got to get right with your posture first. And then get right with your nutrition, get right with your hormones, and that pertains to the aging process a lot. And then get right with your exercise regimen. And when you take charge of those 4 areas and you become a good detective in those 4 areas, miraculous things are going to happen with your body. And it is not simply knee therapy. This is not a book about these are the 10 best exercises to strengthen your knees, or I'm not trying to take the place of an orthopedic surgeon or a physical therapist. I really believe that you need to take charge of these 4 areas before any good things can happen to your body. Yeah,
absolutely. And before we were talking jokingly about 30 days and the infomercial, but you know, consistency in anything that you choose to do, I think, is really the key to success. Because if you try it for a couple of days and go, well, it doesn't really work, or you're inconsistent with something, your body isn't going to have time to start benefiting from the results of repetitive, you know, stretches, postures, whatever it is that you're using. Yeah. So what do you recommend to people to stay consistent? What are some of your recommendations?
That is a great question. I mean, I had a difficult time academically when I was in school, and I used to be so excited when I'd bring home B's on my report card, and my dad was never impressed with that. You know, B's are for idiots, A's are for winners was his kind of his mantra. So I kind of beg with my clients to just embrace that solid B-. Be an awesome B-. Don't try to be an A+ every day with your diet and your exercise and your posture and your hormones, because that's overwhelming. We all have real jobs. We all have lives. We all have responsibilities. But allow yourself to be a constant B-. And so for some people, that's just, today, I am going to turn off my phone 30 minutes before bedtime, and that's the best I'm going to do. And maybe tomorrow I'm going to do that and drink all my water. And maybe on Saturday, because I have the time, I'm going to do those things and go for a long bike ride. But I think to be consistent, you just have to let yourself have a lot of B- in a row, because otherwise we're A or nothing.
Yes, exactly.
And that doesn't add up to a B-. That adds up to, I don't feel good. You know what I mean?
I'm in a training program, and he always says you can have a low production day, just don't have a no production day.
Exactly.
There's certainly going to be days, like you said, where maybe it's only one thing you can get to, but by not quitting and saying, why bother, and just go, you know what, it's okay that I did one thing, and then be your own cheerleader. And be excited that you did that, and go, okay, tomorrow I got more time, I can do something else.
Well, and I think that's a perfect segue as to why you should have a coach, or why you should be part of a Facebook group, or why you should reach out and have people like us in your news feed, because we all need that support and that accountability. And that's the other part of my book. Like, this is your little support book when you're like freaking out, like, oh my God, I'm completely off the rails. I went on vacation, or I went to a wedding, or it was my child's birthday, or whatever the case may be, and you feel off the rails and completely out of control. We are all at a time where we need some control over something because of COVID and just the way the world is right now. You know what the good news is? You can just pull out this little book. It's your little handbook, and you just open to any little page, and it's going to give you some tips on, okay, let's reset my nutrition, let's reset my hormones, and just get back to the basics again.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you.
It's complicated, but it does have to be.
Yeah. And you know what? I love what you say. Like, truly everybody needs a coach in some form or fashion. There's nothing wrong with it. You can be a B, as you said, a B+, B-, a C, a D, whatever. There's no shame. There's nothing wrong. And you are valuable enough to invest in a coach to help you get to where you want to get to go.
And just like we talked about with some of the other products that are out there, coaches are a product that's on the market. Try a coach for 30 days and let it really sink in, so to speak. And if you're not loving what that coach is offering, be willing to break up with them and move on. We stay in bad relationships with our hairdressers for too long. We stay in bad relationships with our church for too long. We stay in bad relationships. Don't stay in a bad relationship with your coach. Like, keep experimenting and get with somebody who offers you the kind of support and accountability that you need at this point in your life. What worked for you when you're 20 might not work for you now. So I think that's a beautiful thing, that there's such a variety out there.
And there's a fine line between consistency and giving it a real go, and then just going from one thing to another to another. So, invest and give it a go. And sometimes it's not going to be the right fit, like you said, but if you give it a chance, sometimes you realize that in fact it would be. So that's
exactly. Yeah. Keep measuring and adjusting. Yeah.
So Laura is a video queen. She is out there online on her pages, her website, Facebook, and YouTube. And I'm going to provide you some of her information on ways to connect with her, because not only does she have value as far as stretching, postures, exercises, workouts, and just anything in general. I loved your penny jar accountability video that I saw the other day. And I thought, I'm going to use that with my team, because, we need to be on our DMO, our daily method of operation. And what a great way then to put a penny in the jar. And
that's an old video. That's like from the history, like the pre-COVID hair and everything.
Yeah, absolutely. But you can connect with Laura on her website at 𝗵𝗂𝗀.com. And on Facebook, also for Laura P. Coombs, because you have your own personal page, Laura Coombs.
Either one of those is fine. I'm actually doing more content on my personal page, and I'd love to friend you also. Just Laura Coombs, if you want to do that. Either way.
Perfect. And or email at laura@laurapcoombs.com. Now, tonight, your book launch, you said, and congratulations. I know this has been such a passion project for you. Yeah. It is like showing your new baby off to somebody. And
ironically, it took me 9 months to write it. So when I told somebody else, I'm like, oh my God, I had a little book baby.
And it's so cute. I love the color. I love the cover. And I love the content. I had the opportunity to read one chapter. Thank you so much for that, and thoroughly enjoyed it. And I can't wait to read the rest of the book. Now, your launch tonight, where is that going to be? Is that on your Facebook page? Or?
It's going to be on my personal Facebook page, and everybody's invited to join in. It's a public event on my personal page, Laura Coombs, and it's at 6:00 Eastern time. As I said, my mom's going to read a little bit. The editor of my book is going to speak about who she thinks the book is for. Some of my clients are going to talk about which chapters really resonated with them. We're going to do giveaways. We're going to download a free chapter, the same chapter that you read. I'll be popping links in to get the consultation and the free chapter, and really just trying to celebrate it, but also trying to get it out there, because I really think it's going to help a lot of people who are just yearning to get back to the basics and take charge.
Absolutely. Well, it's been such a pleasure to talk to you. It's like talking to a friend I've known forever. You're such a delight, and I so enjoyed this. And for everybody who's watching, I think that they really appreciate getting to know you and what you have to offer. So thank you again for joining me today, Laura.
My pleasure. I'll see you guys soon.
Yes, thank you, everybody. Carla Archer helping you work on your wellness. I'll put some links for all of Laura's contacts, her information, some information about her launch party tonight. And thanks again for watching, and we'll talk to you guys again soon. Bye.